fact, recent statistics, that was so awkward. This is what I do constantly, by the way. The freedom of remote work can be amazing, but it can also be overwhelming, very lonely, and if you're not careful, it can have some serious negative impacts for your mental health and well-being. If you're struggling to find your healthy stride while remotely working, don't worry, I'm a digital nomad with 7 years of remote work experience, and I'm here today to share with you my favorite, best tips for how to manage your mental health when you're working from home. For more tips to build a life that you truly love, remember to like and subscribe to my channel by clicking like and the bell below. It makes a huge difference, so thank you so much for your support. By the way, if we haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Therese and welcome to my channel. I've helped thousands of people take steps to building a life they don't need a vacation from. So keep watching and let's learn how to live a more fulfilling, meaningful life that you love while we ditch hustle culture together. For more practical wellness content to help you maximize your life, you can check me out on Instagram at exploring.therapy. Before we dive into the tips that will help you stay mentally healthy while remotely working, first things first. From inflation to Supreme Court decisions to gun violence, there is so much that's happening in the world right now that is having a negative impact on our collective mental health and well-being. So if you find yourself feeling out of sorts, struggling to concentrate, or dealing with anxiety and depression, this is completely understandable with everything going on right now, and you are not alone. If you're going through some mental health struggles because of life, please don't hesitate to get the help that you need. Speak to someone that you trust or find a good therapist. Even if you haven't had the best experiences with a therapist in the past, trust me, there are amazing therapists out there that would love to help you to be in a better place starting today. Now that we've addressed all that, let's get back to talking about remote work and your mental health. If you're one of the thousands of people who is working remotely, perhaps for the first time, then it's important to be intentional about getting started in the best way possible. Over the years, the amount of people working remotely has continued to rise. However, with recent events, this number has accelerated significantly, leading companies and individuals to rethink the way that they work. In fact, recent statistics suggest that working remotely is here to stay, with 98% of respondents saying that they'd like to continue working remotely for the rest of their careers. As a digital nomad with over 7 years of experience working remotely, I've certainly had my share of ups and downs when it comes to managing my mental health while working from home. So let's get started with tip number 1. By the way, here's where other videos you might watch would tell you that tip number 1 should be working on a routine. But in my experience, routine is not the most important thing. The most important thing to managing your mental health when working from home is staying connected. So here it is. Tip number 1 is stay connected. Build community and make togetherness a priority in any way, shape, or form. Whether you're a newbie to remote working or not, it is very normal to experience feelings of isolation or loneliness. However, loneliness becomes most risky when it is chronic, and it's important to identify ways for you to feel most connected and supported when you're working remotely. If you're part of a team, it may feel challenging at first to build virtual relationships with your coworkers and your managers. Luckily, there are plenty of applications like Slack, Zoom, Google Meet, and tons of others that can help you have more interaction and stay connected while you work together virtually, even if you're working from home individually. Why not try setting up a virtual coffee or lunch break with your coworkers? Use these moments to connect and take time to build community with your coworkers. If you're a freelancer or just work solo in your role, this may be a chance for you to connect more with your clients, or you could even reach out to another friend who's also working remotely and give them a call to have a little bit of human interaction. You may find that these short interactions may re-energize you, and for many of us can create a sense of belonging, which is so crucial in trying to combat loneliness. By the way, if you could use a few more tips in this area, I made a video on how to make friends as an adult. I'll be sure to leave you the link and you can check it out. Tip number 2 is remember to stay connected with yourself as well. We all deal with loneliness, but when work gets stressful, you may find yourself isolating, and before you know it, you've gone a few days without talking to anybody. It's important that you recognize feelings of distress, loneliness, fatigue, etc., and not push them aside. One of my favorite resources that's available for free online is called a feelings wheel. A feelings wheel helps us identify our feelings by naming them from more broad, like happy, sad, to more specific, like elated and overjoyed. And it's a really great way, if you're not sure how to describe what you're feeling, to find the words for it. To see the feelings wheel for yourself, go to feelingswheel.com and I'll be sure to include the link too. By the way, it's not simply enough to know your feelings. You actually also have to be kind to yourself when it comes to what you're feeling. Don't hesitate to share your feelings with a trusted friend or family member. When we share our vulnerabilities with others, especially people who are going through something similar, it connects us in more powerful ways. And if things continue to feel really challenging, and if it makes sense for you, I strongly recommend getting support in the form of therapy or even like a telehealth group, just so that you feel like you're getting supported emotionally in all the ways that you need. By the way, I hope these tips are giving you something to think about when it comes to taking care of your mental health when working from home. What are the things that you do to care for your mental health when you're working from home? I'm sure you've got some great tips, so please be sure to leave them in the comments below. Share the love. Tip number 3, know yourself and know your priorities. Oftentimes, we begin to feel disconnected and alone when we're operating outside of our own value system. Is the way that you're spending your time reflecting your values? And do you spend your time in a way that honors your talents, temperaments, gifts, and skills? If, for example, you're an incredibly social person who is now in a role where you don't interact with a human soul, well, that's a recipe for disaster. Similarly, if you prefer to work solo and you're in a role that requires you to be in constant communication with people 24/7, then you may be headed for some serious burnout. Remote work wellness is heavily influenced by the job that you're doing and how well it fits you. You can listen to all the health advice in the world, but if you're in a role that isn't life-giving for you, then none of that advice is gonna matter. So make sure you're paying attention to the voice inside of you, especially if it's saying that you need something different. And if something about the way your role is structured could change the way you feel about it, speak up. Your boss and the leadership team won't know that there's something that could make your job better unless you tell them. So let them know. Tip number 4, okay, we're finally going to talk about routine. Create a routine that works for you. Although the flexibility of working remotely can be really nice, especially if you have the ability to travel, it can be really helpful to establish a routine and create structured work days. Without any structure, it is so easy for your personal and work lives to blur, and it can lead to more stress and overwhelm in the job that you're doing. This is unfortunately why working from home can lead to some loosey-goosey boundaries at times, and that can lead us to burnout. If you're not already familiar, burnout in a nutshell is when we feel stressed for too long without adequate resources to cope, leading to physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion. If you're interested in learning more about burnout specifically, you may want to check out my video on burnout where I go into some simple tips to help you move past burnout once and for all. If you haven't already, designate a place to work that is as distraction-free as possible. Now, I know how tempting it can be to work from your bed in the comfort of your PJs, but trust me on this, getting dressed and having a dedicated workspace will give you the right mindset to seize your day. One of the best tips I've learned is to put on your shoes. So take off your fuzzy pink bunny slippers and put on some actual work shoes. And this does some sort of like Jedi mind trick stuff that helps you get in the right mindset to focus on work-related tasks and gets your brain to stop thinking that it's in relaxation mode. Make sure that you're being mindful about how you start your day. I find that the first hour of our day kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day. So keep promises to yourself, do things that help you set intentions, and practice good self-care. One of my favorite self-care things, I know that this isn't gonna sound like self-care, but it is. One of my favorite things is making the bed every morning. I used to never make my bed, and now I do every single day because it makes me feel like I'm taking care of myself, and it also sets you up so that your future self, when you go to bed in the evening, has a nice, tidy bed to go to sleep in. Even if you have the flexibility where your hours are up to you, try to force yourself to take regular breaks every single day. So take a coffee break, go step outside, take your lunch, And most importantly, try to close your laptop and end the workday at the same time each day. And yes, I know that things may pop up and you may need to switch some things around, but I think it's best as much as possible to try to stick to a routine that works for you. Part of a healthy routine is making sure that you're resting enough. Are you resting enough? Probably not. So how much rest is adequate? According to Emily Nagoski, author of Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle, science says 42%, or about 10 hours out of every 24 hours. She also says, if you don't take the 42% will take you. It will grab you by the face, shove you to the ground, put its foot on your chest, and declare itself the victor. So yeah, please get more rest because you probably need it. In fact, if you need to pause this video right now and take a little nap right here, I won't blame you. Just make sure to come back and watch the rest of this video when you're done. Tip number 5, be mindful about boundaries and distractions. Having healthy boundaries can make a world of difference when it comes to your remote work wellness. What's the biggest threat to our focus these days? Our phones. So try putting your phone in another room or put it in airplane mode so you're not susceptible to getting all of those pesky notifications. And I know for me that my phone is deadly territory once I start opening up those social media apps and scrolling. So disable your access to your social media, sign out of those accounts, or just, again, put your phone far, far away so that you're not tempted to look in the first place. Also, when it comes to talking about boundaries, it's important for us to look at honoring the other relationships in your life outside of work. So in addition to being that awesome little worker bee that you are, make sure that you're actually dedicating time to the relationships that matter to you most, whether you're a mother, father, sibling, child. You want to make sure that you're actually spending your time that in a way that reflects your priorities and values. So if family and loved ones are a priority and value to you, you should be spending time with them, and not just distracted multitasking time, but actual quality time where you feel like you're able to connect in a qualitative way. Remember how we talked about priorities earlier? The way you spend your time reflects your priorities. So if family's at the top of the list, you should be spending some time with your family, which, by the way, means that at some point you need to take time off of work. As much as possible, minimize multitasking. The science says we're not very good multitaskers anyway. And I hate to tell you this, but watching Netflix and trying to get work done at the same time probably isn't going to give you your best results. Trust me, I've tried. Tip number 6, take care of your body. Physical health is mental health. Let's face it, our bodies were not designed to be sitting for 8 to 10 hour workdays. Our bodies want to move. Now, I realize that we can't always have the luxury of taking our work calls while we're strolling on some beach or walking on a treadmill. However, just standing up and moving your body for 5 to 10 minute intervals a day can help your body to refresh, focus, and be ready for the next task to come. Examples of this include using the bathroom that's further away from your workstation so that you can get a few extra steps in, taking the stairs or walking while taking calls, sitting on an exercise ball while working has the added benefit of helping you with your core strength, and definitely full body stretching. When possible, consider a standing desk and split your time between sitting and standing. And you've heard me share this in other videos before, but make sure that you're feeding your body good fuel. Obviously, if you're putting crap into the tank, you're going to feel like crap. And if you put something that's nutritious and delicious into your body, you're going to feel completely differently. So feed your body good fuel. Similar to how we are designed to move, our bodies need us to go outside. Many people are vitamin D deficient. You can ask your doctor for a test if you want to confirm. And so getting outside for even just a few minutes a day can do wonders for your mental health. Results of a large-scale study showed that taking walks in nature lowered anxiety and depression among participants while also boosting their mood and well-being. Even just the sound of nature can trigger a relaxation response in the brain. Pretty cool, right? The latest research on sun exposure is also revealing more and more that getting light in the morning hours and limiting light in the evening has powerful effects on the way that we feel. If you're interested in knowing more about that, Dr. Andrew Huberman with the Huberman Lab has all the latest research on light exposure and circadian rhythms and its impact on your health, and I love his stuff. I'll link him down below. So next time that you take a lunch break or you hop on a call, try to get outside. I guarantee you won't regret it. Tip number 7, create a supportive work from home environment. Working all day from uncomfortable coffee shop chairs might be okay when you're 22, but when you're in your 30s, your body is not going to be okay with that. So be intentional about creating a workspace that supports your health and well-being. Seriously, take more than 2 seconds and think about it and invest in your workspace. You're going to be working in this space a lot. So it's important that you invest in creating a workspace that will promote productivity, focus, and all-around good energy. Don't cut corners when it comes to making your workspace a positive and healthy place for you. What helps you to de-stress or puts a smile on your face? Maybe it's a scent of lavender oil pumping through a diffuser, some cheerful plants, or some soothing jazz music in the background. Do what you can to have a desk and chair that is at the proper height for your body. And make sure to elevate your monitor so that you're not hunched over all the time and potentially hurting your neck. Laptop users, I'm talking to you. Is your workspace bright, clean, and tidy, or dark, cluttered, and overwhelming? Even small things like opening windows to bring in natural light and fresh air can make a world of difference. So try not to overlook the simple things that you can do to try and make your workspace a nice place to be. If you're brand new to remote working, it's going to take some time for you to figure out your optimal workspace. You learn over time what works best for you. Maybe try working from a slightly different location than the one you've typically been using and just see how you feel. The freedom and more open-ended structure of working from home can take some getting used to. But as research shows, most people find working from home extremely beneficial to their overall well-being. So those are some of my favorite tips. I hope that you found them helpful, and I hope they help you to stay as healthy as you possibly can while you're working from home. Until next time, see you later.